I'm going to piss you off. And the reason I'm going to piss you off is because I'm opinionated, surprise, surprise, and I state my opinion as robustly as I can. And frankly, I'm not about to change my mind because some ignorant fanboy with an axe to grind wants to pick an argument in order to justify his or her existence to themselves. I shouldn't have to say this, as I think it's all but redundant, but just for the sake of clarity, let me say this up front. The opinions on this channel are mine. If I say I think Xbox had a really good E3, or even the best E3, I mean it. That doesn't mean I can't be critical of parts of the conference or even suggest that Xbox lacks games. Of course I can. And frankly I do. Equally, if I say some of Nintendo's business practices leave a lot to be desired, that's the truth as I see it, and perhaps more importantly based on the evidence at hand. But what if I then say I think Nintendo games are some of the best designs in the industry? Are those two opinions mutually exclusive? Or maybe I'm critical of Sony for their attitude towards backwards compatibility and crossplay, while simultaneously praising them for the quality of their first-party IP. Those of you who follow my channel know that I've done both of those things. But is this inconsistent? Well, at the risk of alienating those who answered yes, I need to point out that no, it's not. And if you think it is, you probably need to look up the term false dichotomy. Because it is possible, with a modicum of intellectual honesty, to judge things on their relative merits. And unfortunately, that's not something we see a lot of on the internet. Or at least, given the amount of shouting that certain people do, those people who are trying to arrive at balanced conclusions or balanced opinions are often drowned out. I've heard the term flip-flopper used to describe people like me and others who are attempting to arrive at honest and balanced positions on any given subject. But the people using this term are saying more about themselves than they are about those they're criticising. It's not flip-flopping to be able to navigate through the mire of preconceptions and prejudice to arrive at a balanced viewpoint. And it isn't weak either. What is weak, certainly intellectually at least, is the inability to look at each issue or subject on its merits. And that applies outside of gaming as much as it does within the industry. And let's be honest, more so. Increasingly, we're seeing this form of intellectual absolutism where people gravitate towards an idea or an opinion and then hold on for dear life as their nails peel off, afraid almost to let go. I've said it before, and no doubt this won't be the last time I say it, but this is something in common with religious fundamentalism, because at its core, this form of absolutist thought is predicated on fear. The fear of being wrong. And that really is weakness, because once you close yourself down to new or alternative viewpoints out of fear, you become little more than a cipher, a shell to be manipulated. And frankly, politicians, religious gurus and marketing men will love you, while simultaneously screwing you over at every opportunity. Now look, you don't necessarily have to agree that, for instance, Xbox had a good E3, or that Nintendo have some dodgy business practices, or that Sony have been killing it with their first-party IP of late. But you do owe it to yourself to ask why you disagree. Not just with those subjects, but with any subject. Why do you disagree? Have some sense of self-awareness and ask yourself that question. And if you do find yourself always criticising, say, Nintendo or Microsoft, while resolutely refusing to ever do the same for Sony, then you probably need to take a step back. And look, no, I'm not singling out Sony here. Obviously not. But there's something quite liberating about throwing off the shackles of closed-mindedness and actually listening to what the other guy has to say. That's not to say you have to agree with him or her, of course you don't. The beauty of having an open mind is that you can engage in conversation with people you disagree with and still come away learning something. Surprise, surprise. Otherwise, what actually is the point of engaging with people at all? unless you're merely behaving like the fundamentalists I mentioned earlier and are trying to banish your fear by engaging in battle with the enemy. We see this with all different disparate groups, whether they be right, left, or whatever they might be, that they will not engage with people they disagree with, because not only do they disagree with them, those people are the enemy. It's all to do with cultural politics, cultural identity. People put themselves into a group, into a box, and they want to stay there. And if that's the case, and you have no intention of actually listening to what the other guy has to say, then you may just as well remain in your echo chamber. Because sooner or later, people who are of a more reasonable disposition will see that you're dishonest, will see that you only have an agenda that you're trying to push, and they'll cease to engage with you at all. And frankly, that will be sad for everyone. I keep using this quote, and I'm going to misquote him, but you'll get the gist. Sam Harris has said that civilization advances through a series of successful conversations. And I've said this time and time again, I absolutely agree with him. We have to talk with people we disagree with. What's the point of only talking with the people we agree with? It achieves literally and precisely nothing. The fact of the matter is that on a long enough timeline, you will eventually disagree with everybody you meet. And if you're honest, you'll even find yourself disagreeing with your own utterances and wondering what the hell you were thinking when you uttered them. But that shouldn't put you off. That shouldn't make you fearful, because that's a sign of honesty. And while others might call that flip-flopping or try to coerce you over to their intransigent way of thinking, you can feel sorry for them, frankly, because you can be safe in the knowledge that at least you are prepared to listen to what they have to say, even if they only like the sound of their own voice and are fearful of anything that threatens to silence it, because in their mind, that's how they see it. Anyone who disagrees with them, they see as a threat who is trying to silence them, and that's extremely worrying. Just because someone disagrees with you doesn't make them the enemy. So yeah, the fact is I'm going to piss you off. Sooner or later, it's going to happen. Sooner or later, you're going to disagree with me. But what happens then is up to you. Maybe you've disagreed with me in this video. Come in the comments, let me know. But do yourself a favour and do me a favour. Always ask yourself why whatever it is that you're angry about has made you angry, why you disagree. Engage, as I say, with that self-awareness. Think about why you've got your opinion and why the other guy may have a different opinion. Because the fact is, we often get worked up about something that's fairly inconsequential. And even if it is consequential, even if it's really important, it doesn't hurt to see things from the other guy's point of view, even if ultimately you still end up disagreeing with them. Unfortunately, with the internet, what happens is, as I say, people exist in these echo chambers, and when they encounter somebody who doesn't come from that echo chamber, they're the enemy. And I don't think that's healthy at all. So if you are getting worked up about what people say when they disagree with you, then you maybe need to have a look at yourself. Stare at yourself in the mirror for a bit. Try and work out why it is you're getting so worked up about these things. And if you're getting this worked up about video games, well, I hate to say it, but frankly, you probably need to seek counselling and get a life. Because it's video games, it's entertainment. Have arguments, get heated, like things, dislike things, talk to your friends about stuff. You don't have to agree, but you don't have to disagree either, and you don't have to make people the enemy just because they don't agree with you on everything. Nobody will. That's the reality of it. Nobody is going to agree with you on everything. And that is fine. God, it would be really dull, wouldn't it, if everybody agreed with everything? Be Invasion of the Body Snatchers, for crying out loud. But anyway, that's what I think about it. And maybe I've pissed you off in this one. And if I have, frankly, tough. But come in the comments, tell me what you think. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? And, you know, we'll have a talk about it. And in the meantime, I'm going to do my usual. I'm going to go and have a cup of tea and tell me in the comments if you don't like tea or you prefer coffee or whatever. We'll have a chat about that as well. And yeah, I'm done. I'll speak to you in the next one. Bye.
Come and fucking get me, you white-ass fascist Nazi pigs.